the people who, you know, there's somebody with, I don't know, she's got 8 or 10 years and she's never tried meditation. You know, there's people who, I get emails from these people, you know, who've got over decades of sobriety, and they talk about how, you know, you can still get into some serious depression, or you can switch addictions. And like I said in the beginning of the program, you know, so I'm looking at trying to help people either. Well, really, what winds up happening is that there's some hardliner fundamentalists who don't need they don't feel that they need any help, and they're not the ones who really read the book. The ones who read the book are ones who've been around a long time and who've hit the wall, or ones who are just coming in, brand new people who are coming into recovery, who are reading the book and trying to approach recovery from a more open mind. It's kind of a little bit paradoxical to what I said, because while that isn't my real focus, dealing with the people just getting sober, you get yourself sober somehow or another through some detox, some program, some clinic, and then when you're working your program and you're involved and you're trying to develop, you start to apply things that I think there's a new genre of people. There's a lot of, you know, when I was a kid, my parents were, you know, they were raised in the Depression era, World War II. And, you know, my older brother was from the 50s and this and that. You know, nowadays, the Generation Xers and the Millennium kids and people that were born in the 80s and 90s, their parents, these are the people who are coming into recovery now, and their parents are people who either grew up in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, right? So, so they're looking at things, you know, they've been exposed to mindfulness and yoga and being a vegetarian and, you know, all kinds of things that I was never exposed to. And I feel like there's an acumen, you know, there's a spiritual readiness that a lot of younger, you know, you see people come in their 20s and they get what I'm talking about in that book really easy, because it's not so foreign to them. Eastern thinking isn't so foreign to them, you know. And so what I'm saying is that on one hand is that I'm not really out there trying to like say, okay, here's how you get off crack. There's a lot of places for you to get off crack. What I'm saying is once you get off crack and you're working a program, you can do some stuff that would help ensure that 20 years from now, you don't feel like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, even though you've been clean and sober. Or if you do feel like it, you don't have to rely on the generic answer. Well, write another fourth step. Go help a newcomer. And, you know, all those things are wonderful practices, but sometimes we need to look a little deeper, do a little deeper spiritual mining. Like I'm talking about. And there's nothing better than deep meditation practice and breath work and, you know, all kinds of different things that we can do. So the people who are coming in now who are reading books like the 12-Step Buddhist and stuff like this, 10, 15, 20 years from now, they're going to be the people that have long-term sobriety who are already equipped with tools. And this is what is exciting to me, because, you know, this stuff is all kind of in the past maybe 7 or 8 years started to come out. And who knows what it's going to look like later if people start to develop these additional complementary skills.
I like how your word that you coined, the funnel syndrome. Can you elaborate on that a little bit so that we understand? It has to do with, you know, the same things over and over, and you kind of get stuck. Is that the?
Well, the funnel is a term that my sponsor, John P. from Long Beach, coined, and he says, you know, you can see the effects of the funnel. So there's a metaphor for it. Like if you go to a big 12-step group and they have a sobriety countdown, or they get everybody goes up to get coins, you see a huge amount of people. But at the wide end of the funnel, there's a huge amount of people getting coins for sobriety of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year, 18 months, you know, this and that, and first few years, and then it starts to be, the funnel starts to narrow. The mouth starts to narrow. You get, there's somebody with 2, there's somebody with 4, there's 2 people at 6, there's somebody at 10, then there's nobody until 17, and then at the end there's one old guy with a cane going up there getting his 47-year coin, you know, and that's the one little drop. Out of all those people that come in, there's only a few that remain.
Yeah.
And of the few that remain, of the few that remain, I mean, honestly, I don't want to, but the few that remain, are they really spiritually evolved people?
Yeah.
Or have they just made it through?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's wisdom, sometimes there's deep compassion. But for the most part, I think that without really getting into deep, spiritually evolved work, that we're missing the rest of the possibility that's there to achieve real what the Dalai Lama calls, the art of happiness, And I feel like if you look at the funnel, you can see how that's true. I see it at almost every meeting I've ever gone to in any state in the country. I've been in like 25 different cities over the past few years talking about the book and this and that, and I see it everywhere. I see it constantly. The other part of the funnel, though, that's not the graphic illustration, is just the idea that you get into a dark tube and you don't know you're in it. You're in a place where you're not drinking and using if drugs and alcohol are your addiction, so you're not participating in your drug of choice. Right. But you're really, really effed up, and you're really in a bad way. Yeah. And you're really locked up, and at some point something's got to break. Yeah, yeah. So the funnel is a place that a lot of people get to. My sponsor originally said, people hit it between 7 and 11 years. Some people hit it later. And there's always the dark night of the soul and any spiritual, warrior's path and so on. Yeah. But if you don't have a real strong lineage, a guru, a teacher, a sangha, a spiritual support community, a lot of deep explanations and practices and ways of looking at the problem from multiple angles, then things can look pretty small. Like your viewpoint can get pretty small. When you go into a meeting, if you got 6, 7, 14 years sober and you're suicidal, and you go into a meeting and they're saying the same thing that they've said every meeting you've ever been to, and you can't stand hearing it another time. Right. And you walk out of there and you want to put a bullet in your head, then you're probably in the funnel. Okay. That makes sense to me. You see what I mean?
I understand that one.
And a lot of people drink or do take extreme measures. So what I'm trying to say is that, go pick up the 12-step Buddhist. Go start looking around at different groups where you can add to your recovery by bringing some new practices into your life. There's a lot of things to choose from. Depends on where you're at. I mean, if you're in the middle of Indiana, it might be harder than, I'm in Portland, Oregon. We've got like 47 wellness centers. There's something in every corner, There's like 100 programs going on at any given point, and everything from sound therapy to Ayurvedic cleansing, and who knows? I mean, there's so many things. So, I'm saying that, I tell you how to do that in the book because this is what I need to do to survive. I don't want to go through another relapse, and I know what the disease is like. When they say that, the longer I'm sober, the disease is progressive, and my solution needs to be progressive.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, the disease is out there doing push-ups by your car even as we speak.
That's right. So I've got to be pumping my spiritual iron.
That's right.
Anyways, so I guess that sounds like a pretty good way to close. I mean, I think unless you have any other questions.
Well, I think that's about it. I guess some of the ways that addiction shows up in people's lives, just so that we know, are binging. Some of the ways that we convince ourselves that we're not, having a shot in the morning, never drinking at work, but then, we always find ourselves slipping into, I'll just have one at lunch. Changing the substance, I'll switch from Jack Daniels to wine, and then from wine to beer, or I'll swear off entirely for a week, and we find ourselves, at least that's what I found, continuing to return even stronger and more committed to my addiction. So I think if anybody finds that for themselves, then this is something to look into, and this book would be a wonderful way to kind of break into it and find some practical solutions as well as some spiritual solutions. So I'm for it.
I agree completely.
Well, now we have a couple minutes left. Why don't you share where you'll be going, what you're doing, and where to find your book, and so on and so forth, and your retreats?
Well, like I said, the next retreat, there's still time to register, is at Brighton Bush Hot Springs. You can get that information at the 12stepbuddhist.com. We're going to do present moment awareness for Sunday through Tuesday. We're going to walk in the forest, sit in the natural hot springs, share a little bit about our recovery, and get a little bit more depth of our awareness, maybe do some different things. We'll do some yoga and that sort of thing. The next retreat is, I think it's February 8th at Brighton Bush. You can find that soon on the 12stepbuddhist.com. You can get the book at Amazon, Pals.com, Borders, Barnes & Noble, any online bookseller, independent booksellers and spiritual bookstores, such as Breed Books in Baltimore, for example, New Renaissance in Portland, a lot of these different controversial bookstore in San Diego. You know, they're all it's everywhere, and you can find that link right on the 12stepbuddhist.com. And by all means, if you have questions or read the book, and then the question that you might have, maybe hasn't already been answered. A lot of times people ask me questions that I spent hours and hours and days writing chapters on it. So read the book, and you get into that stuff, and if things aren't clear, then you can contact me, and you can find out how I've got some articles on there about how to start a 12-step sangha or a meditation group, and build the fellowship you crave. I've got a podcast on that. And, if you have any further questions or thoughts, if you'd like me to come to your area and lead a retreat or a weekend workshop or a day-long retreat or a talk, something like that, just let me know, because I'm always happy to go do that. And as long as the opportunity's there, I'm definitely wanting to try to help. So, yeah, I'm definitely available for consultation when people feel like they've hit a wall. You can give me an email. Let me see if I can direct you. Also, you can look at the resource tab on my website, various things like that. So, good luck to everybody out there, and you can find freedom from addiction and suffering. And if you found that freedom, you can also find, deeper freedom from when the old wounds come to the surface after years of sobriety. You can also deal with that, and you don't have to leave. You don't graduate. You don't have to graduate from 12-step recovery. You can stay right in your home group, arguing at the business meeting about what flavor coffee you should have.
Right.
But then you have a deeper practice too. Tonglen, exchanging self for others. You can sit there and say, okay, there's that SOB sitting there. Boy, he was over there looking at my car the other day. What would it be like to imagine giving him your car? There's a lot of practices in Buddhism that we can do to deal with things in recovery that would otherwise, maybe pass us by. There's a lot of great solutions in the 12-step literature too, so please don't overlook those.
Wonderful. Well, Darren, thank you so much for being on the show, and I wish you the best of luck with the book. I highly recommend it. I'm still working on it. I haven't gotten all the way through it because there's processes and things that one needs to do. But it is an excellent book, and I highly recommend it. In fact, I gave one to a friend of mine. So thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with all of us. And I, again, honor all of those who are working on this path of recovery. And thanks again for being on tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm going to go catch the last 2 minutes of my meeting.
Oh, all right. Maybe you can share about your radio show.
Send me a link to the program so I can share it with others on my website.
There you go. Well, I'll make sure you have a link to the show so you can put it up on your site if you want, or share it with other people.
All right. Thanks so much, Liz. I enjoyed it.
All right, Darren. Thanks a million for all your help with everybody, and that's a wrap. Good night.
Good night.